All right, everyone, welcome back into another Sunday NBA DFS video. I got the 10:30 slate here for you guys, and I always kind of like the Sunday slates just because I feel like there is a bigger edge to them because more people are concentrated on football, at least during the football season. Do just want to call out that the slate does start an hour earlier than it typically does as well, so just make sure that your process is moved up an hour earlier, okay? Before lineup lock, you guys can be in the Discord chat as well, getting all the slate breaking news. I know last night there was a lot of slate breaking news, so make sure to be in there as well. If you guys want access to any of the tools that you see in this video, click the link in the description below. And as always, guys, please like and subscribe. That helps us be able to put out more NBA DFS content for you guys. All right, let's get into the picks and process for this week, this slate. So as always, I do like to start off with the injury news on this slate. There is a bunch of injury news on this slate, guys. So the biggest difference in news is DeAndre Ayton is out. We do have Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs still projected to be out. Devin Vassell is out as well, which might mean Jeremy Sohan, I think I got that right, is going to step up into a more prominent role, kind of like he has been. Let's see who else here. I mean, there's just a ton of inactive plays on this slate, guys. So we're going to go through that and kind of figure out which plays we should be on as a result. And looking at game time decisions, still got to wait and see on that. I know Anthony Davis is currently questionable. We'll see. LeBron is questionable as well, but he's expected to play. There's a lot of small stuff like that as well. So with that, let's just go through and look at the value on the slate. And I'm going to sort it by just main slate here, DK main slate, whatever, same thing. So let's look at it. Projected value on DraftKings. Okay, it's looking like it's going to be Chris Paul with DeAndre Ayton out. The expectation is that he could soak up a little bit more usage, but also it's the matchup with Houston. That has been a matchup in which you have been want to be targeting. Players are able to hit their average or exceed their average the most against Houston. So that is a matchup that you want to be targeting. Kevon Looney popping up there as well. That's kind of interesting to me. Aaron Gordon, that's also interesting to me as well. Michael Porter. So they're just kind of like in the LA game there. The projections are. So interesting stuff there. Dean Wade, he's just one of those guys that sometimes pops because he's getting a lot of minutes and he's so cheap. I don't know. I wouldn't play Dean Wade there. Jeremy Sochan there. He's someone I think I'll be playing, just price point wise. Bismack Biyombo could be someone that we're looking at as well. Let's look at FanDuel value because I think there is a bigger edge to FanDuel. So yeah, you look at FanDuel compared to DraftKings, Bismack is $800 cheaper on FanDuel. So that is a spot in which you can play him. DFS there, about $600 cheaper on FanDuel. So someone you could look at there. Reggie Bullock, I don't particularly like, but you could play him. Cam Johnson's a play that I do want to play on this slate just to see if he can go for 30 DK points or FanDuel points. But I'd much rather play him on FanDuel as well. A $700 price decrease, that is intriguing to me. So I think there's a route in which on FanDuel you're going Bismack at center, Cam Johnson at a forward spot, and then you could go with Chris Paul at the point guard spot. I don't mind that route for FanDuel. Klay Thompson could be someone. Jordan Poole is currently questionable. We'll have to see if he plays. Just some interesting value there. It is a tougher slate. I'm not going to lie. There's just so much injury news and not enough this is the play, whereas last night with some of the injury news that came out, you kind of just all right, we've seen this before. We know who this play is. Tonight, it's kind of just, we're figuring it out. We're trying to get through it and figure it out. Looking at which games you should want to be targeting, not really any in particular, except for this Minnesota-San Antonio game. Okay, that's the biggest over and under on the slate. Although I do like the Houston game as well. A little bit of the Denver-Lakers game as well. But it's pretty clear you want to be targeting the Minnesota game. It is a close spread as well. Then just looking at most owned on the DraftKings main slate right now. So a lot of people are going with Booker and Chris Paul. They are kind of both relatively cheap with DeAndre Ayton out and with Houston being a matchup in which you want to be targeting. Jeremy Sochan is also very cheap, relatively speaking, to the amount of minutes he's beginning. I'll show you guys that as we go or get deeper into this video. Marcus Smart, maybe. I believe Malcolm Brogdon is currently questionable. So if he sits, I think that'd be why Marcus Smart is getting a lot of bump in his value. People are trying to game stack, run it back with Kevin Porter. I don't mind that idea. Run it back. Chris Paul and Devin Booker, run it back with Kevin Porter. That's fine. He is kind of a safe play, like a 30 DK point to 40 DK point play. Kind of every night he's been very consistent. Jake Podol, fine with that. Good price point play. Has done well against Minnesota the last two games. I think it's 40 and 31 DK points the last two times against Minnesota. So somebody you could look at there as well. All right. Keldon Johnson, I like as well. I kind of think these ownerships, unless we get slate breaking news, could stay there. It could very much be there. So let's just get into it, guys. Kind of showing you guys the lineup process. My biggest issue with this slate is literally the fact that it's tough to make a build that you're going to love or even completely like. There are some spots like dead zones in the lineup, price point wise, and it just kind of is what it is. It's one of those slates. So I do always like to touch on this. Like, obviously, if you can afford to pay for Luka, you do it. He's been a stud. His lowest DK point total was 56. Since then, 65, 68, 84, and 71. So yes, if you can afford to pay for him, you should. The only worry about him tonight is that it is the back end of a back-to-back. Played 40 minutes each of the last 2 games. That would be the biggest worry with him as a play. Curry, if you want to pay for him, you can. He should be a 5x play for you on the slate, especially if we get news that Jordan Poole is going to sit. Now, he's expected to play, but I think that would just help Curry a little bit more if he sits. I don't mind the idea of Russell Westbrook coming off of the bench. Okay, that is what I like about Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, commanding that second unit. Usage should go up. The productivity should go up. He's not trying to coexist, or LeBron and him are not trying to coexist together, 2 similar players in the sense that they need shooters around them. So when they're both on the court, it kind of very much limits what they both can do offensively. So I do like the fact that, 1, he's cheap, and 2, he's coming off the bench on that second unit. Still going to get the minutes. He should be a safe 30 DK point play as long as that stays the same. So not a terrible play, not someone you're particularly going out of your way to play. And that's the issue, guys. That just is like the guard spot in general is filled with that. Like, I like Booker. I like Donovan Mitchell as well, priced down a little bit. We saw 2 games ago against Orlando. Had a poor night shooting. Wasn't able to do much. 35 DK points. In every other game thus far, 50 DK points. Now, yes, he had 46 minutes in the last game. That's why he got to 51 DK points. Should be a solid 40 DK point play with the upside to get you 50 DK points. Like, should be a solid play. Not someone you're particularly worried about. I do like him a decent amount as a play. The issue I have is that, yes, Chris Paul could easily go for 40 DK points against Houston, more so than Donovan Mitchell can go for 50 DK points against New York. Both are certainly within the realm of possibilities, but I think I'm just going to go with Chris Paul. The projections liked him. The data liked him. So, yes, Chris Paul should be a safe play. We'll put him at the point guard spot eventually. But, yeah, Kevin Porter, should be a fine play. Like I said, very consistent producer. If you just want to save like 30 to 40 DK points, you can play him. D'Angelo Russell, kind of an interesting play against San Antonio, went for 47 and 28 DK points. So, someone you could look at if you want to chase that upside. Trey Jones should be locked into right around 30 minutes. Now, he's priced up a little bit to the point where like you don't have to play him, but he has went for 34 and 28 DK points against Minnesota. Kind of strange that they're playing them for the 3rd time already this season. Josh Richardson is someone that we need to look at. If he sits, he's currently questionable, then you would be looking at, like I said, Jeremy Sohan. He should be a decent play for you. And then we still do have the Magic players out as well, the guards, the point guards. So I do think Franz Wagner should be someone that you're looking at, but last game he didn't get any minutes because the game was a blowout, and he was certainly well on his way, I think, to getting 30 or so DK points at 6.4. You would have loved to have taken that. Now he's priced up because DraftKings saw how high owned he was. He was good chalk. It just didn't work out on the last slate. Now he's priced up to the point where you have to think about it. I do still like him as a play. It's just weird that the shot attempts weren't there, and I know part of that's due to minutes, but the assists weren't really there. And once again, it's part of the minutes, but the rebounds weren't there as well. So he is someone I do think will bounce back, just not someone I'm particularly loving. And that is the theme of this slate, guys. I do like the upside of Anthony Edwards as well. Like, this is kind of a slate in which I might just try to chase upside instead of chase the floor. Anthony Edwards, 23 and 56 DK points against San Antonio. Now, obviously, San Antonio is pretty banged up. He is someone that I think could go for 40 DK points at 7.9. That's something I will take. So, yes, I'll put him in a build right now. It's just so tough. Like, there's no standout plays. So, I mentioned him a decent amount. Let's just pull it up here. So, the last 2 games, 28 and 31 minutes. As price point, it doesn't take much for him to hit value, okay? Not exactly shooting the ball a ton, 13 and 8 attempts. We want that to be double digits for sure. But if he can get 10 actual points and then, a few rebounds and a few assists, should be someone that does get you around 25 to 30 DK points, especially if Josh Richardson is out. That should be kind of cemented in, at least in this game. Banchero here, he is someone you could certainly play as well. Should be a 40 DK point play, with a lot of those guards out. He is someone that does need to play well for the Magic to have a great game. Going against Dallas, you kind of think he'd be kind of revved up to play against Luka a little bit there. Probably going to be, I shouldn't say probably, looking like he could be the MVP of the league this season. We'll see. That could be a hot take, I guess, but he is someone that certainly could go for 40 DK points. He's done that, a bunch already this season, 4 times out of 6 games now. So, kind of expect that a little bit as well. So let's just try to close out this build. And once again, guys, it is pretty ugly. Like, there is just not a lot that I love. And I'm going to try to stack the San Antonio, Minnesota game a little bit. And yeah, you can see don't have enough salary, even left over to do that. It's tough. It's a tough lineup process. It just is today. So maybe we go off of Chris Paul, even though he should be a very strong price point play. Yeah, maybe McDermott, getting 20 or so DK points, you could try to force him into a build, especially if you're trying to game stack that game. It's just tough. Like I feel like putting out a first look build for this is not going to help you guys all too much. It's just shat out on this slate. Like it is one in which I probably will be game stacking, but you can see we're trying to force in players, and that's kind of the issue with this slate, but everyone is going to have that same issue where they feel like they're forcing players into a build. So it should be harder to make a good build. And obviously, if you do make a good build, that should increase your chances of having a really solid night. Whereas like last night, for example purposes, there's a lot of chalk, but a lot of chalk that was most likely going to hit. So like making a good lineup was easy, but it was easy for everyone. So it's harder to have a like really great week or night. So interesting slate, needless to say. Let's hope we have some more clarity come lineup block. And once again, we do have that available in the Discord chat. So make sure to click the link in the description below for that, as well as all the tools are linked in the description below. You can click the link below to join. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Let's have a good slate and good luck tonight.